Yes. So, namaskar everyone. Welcome to this 16th session to continue our journey towards learning, understanding, and implementing in our day-to-day life Srimad Bhagavad Gita with the help of and the guidance of Sundarajanji. So, over to you, Sundarajanji. Take us this journey ahead. Thank you, please.
Namaskar ji, Pranam. I'll share my screen and then we'll get started. So last time or last session, we were looking at the three gunas from chapter 16 and 17. And what we did was we were walking through as a basically like a test or a self-test or a self-assessment. And we'll continue on that this time. But before doing that, I want us to start with the invocation, the Vedic invocation, and then we'll go ahead with the test. Please join me. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Now, welcome everybody to the series on Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. But we have gone past the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga of chapter 14, and we have taken up the Trayi Guna or the Triguna as a subject matter for self-assessment. And what we have done in the last session, like I said earlier, was going through each and made it a game, and we'll go through that in a bit. So you can watch the previous video if you want to see the instructions on why we are doing this. So the three gunas and how the sattva and rajas and tama act upon our body, and how because of sattva, rajas, tamas, what it is, and how our cognitive filters work in seeing and understanding the world, and how it impels us to act certain way. So I'll not go deep into that in this session, but I would highly advise that we go back to the previous session and start looking into it for the three gunas. And the gamification part, for those of you who are doing it for the first time here, is please have a pen and paper ready. And there will be multiple questions. And this is very important for any beginner who wants to take up Gita study. So we just don't want to start reading Gita shlokas and interpreting it our own way. We want to understand where we stand in spiritual journey and make ourselves worthy of Gita ji, and then take up the Gita studies. And that's why we are doing the Gunatraya even before taking up the Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga and such. Okay. So we'll have multiple questions. So for each question, there will be three possible answers. And for each choice, rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10. In some of the cases, it'll be you never do it. In some cases, you always do it. But 0 is never and 10 is always, right? And be as honest as you can, because at the end of the day, it is for you to candidly say, this is who I am. And from my standing point, how do I improve myself? And there are no wrong answers, and you don't have to reveal your answer. And it's for you to take it and do your sadhanas based on that going forward. Now, last time I also mentioned the same thing. I'm going to repeat it, which is for each of the questions, I want you to create 3 columns, right? So this is an example. So for general traits, say, for example, are you more sattvic on a scale of 0 to 10? You'll say 4. Rajasic most of the time. Tamasic, well, sometimes, right? Sunday mornings. And same thing with eating habits, giving charity. So you're filling out all 3 columns for each question. And then add it up. At the end of it, you will start seeing where you stand on the grand scale of sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic gunas. And you'll try to move from the tamasic to rajasic nature and rajasic to sattvic nature, so that you can understand the teachings of Gita better. Okay. So I will just go through these questions without reading them. And you might want to pause the video if you're doing it for the first time and you're watching the video. Pause each question and then mark yourself based on the sattva or rajas or tamas. So the first question would be, which of these qualities represent you? What drives you? And what results do you get for the sattva, rajas, and tamas? And third is, what kind of person are you and who do you pray to? So which deity or role models do you pray to? And it's devas or yakshas or the spirits. And your dietary habit, what kind of food you like in general, be it at home or be it in a party, or normally what's your food choice? And even if it's not your choice, what kind of food do you end up eating? Because the food you eat drives the way you think. And then yajna. Yajna is the tendency of sacrifice or the way in which you work. So there's a sattvic way, rajasic, and a tamasic way. Pause the video, see, and understand which type of yajna do you do on a daily life. And then the tapas. Tapasya is basically all the austerities you do or the sadhanas you do to detox yourself spiritually. That is what is tapasya. And then your motivation factor. What motivates you to do all the tapasya and yajna? Charity. How do you help others? When somebody asks you for a help, do you assess their character and the time and place and you help them? Or do you make them run from pillar to post and then give them little? Or do you want name and fame? So those kind of things. And that's where we stopped last time. And we'll continue on these series of questions moving forward. Okay. Now, Thiaga and Sannyasa. Now, this is chapter 18. Now, the three gunas follows, and Arjuna asks questions to Lord Krishna on what is Thiaga and what is Sannyasa and what is the difference between the two. So, I thought I'll first take some time to explain the difference and then we'll go on to the Triguna questions. So, Thiaga or Sannyasa is Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sannyasam Kavayo Viduhu. Sarva Karma Palatyagam Prahustyagam Vichakshana. So Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam, which means the mental renunciation of any Kamya karma. So when we do a karma, we do it with either a benefit in mind or with the benefits of others. So basically, a large undertaking, say building a road or a highway or planting trees, that's for the benefit of the future. And things that you do that benefits yourself, like an ishti, putrakam ishti or ashwamedha, are all benefiting you, right? So what kind of work you do is immaterial, but the ones that you want to do selfishly or with an end in mind, if you can give that up, that is called sannyasa. Sannyasa is not running away to a cave and sitting there or shaving your head or growing a big dadi. That's not real sannyasa. Sannyasa, according to Bhagavan, is of the mind. Okay. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam. Simple definition. So, what is Tyaga? Tyaga literally means giving up, sacrifice, right? So, Tyaga is giving up all the outcome of one's action. Karma phala Tyaga is called Tyaga, according to Bhagavan. Okay. You can give up anything and everything, but until you give up the karma phala, not even wanting moksha, not wanting swarga, just doing it because you have been told and because Vedas tell this is the way, and if you walk the way without any likes or dislikes and without any attachments, then you become a true sannyasi. Okay. So that is the difference between Tyaga and Sannyasa. Then Arjuna asks questions on the practice of Yagna, Dhana, and Tapas. Right? And Yagna, Dhana, Tapas are all important, and the Vedas say these three should not be given up. You can give up any other karma or kamya karma, but you cannot give up Yagna, Dhana, and Tapas, because without Tapas, there is no continuous improvement, there is no striving. Without Dhana, there is no sustenance of the dharma around you. Dhana is the foundation on which dharma is based, and yajna, the sacrifice not just to the devas, is the devas, the pitaras, the bhuta yajna, and all those yajnas are panchamaha yajna are very important for us to continue on a daily basis, right? So Bhagavan says these three types of karma cannot be given up. All other karma apart from these three leads one to mediocrity and decadence, meaning one goes into rajasic or a tamasic and comes back to the world again and again. Okay. So, having said that, we'll move on to the three gunas and keep these things in mind, the yajna, dhana, and tapas. because even these will have three types: Satvika type of yajna, Rajasika type of yajna, or Satvika type of Dhana and Tapas and all. Question number 8, continuing. Now, why do you not do yajna, dhana, and tapas? So, what motivates you to either do it, or some people are too lazy, they'll give it up. They'll say, I don't want to do it. So, your attitude towards yajna, dhana, and tapas. Bhagavan says, first one, Satvika, give yourself point as to if you perform sadhanas dutifully, all your yajna and bhuta yajna and all those without any expectation, and you're already uh, doing this not for fame in this world or the next. You're doing it as purely a duty, and you do it as a sadhana till your last breath. If that's your attitude, then see, if you have a, you always do it, you never do it, you do it once in a while. So if you do it once in a while, give yourself 3 or 4. If you never do it, it's a 0. If you do it most of the time, then it's 8 or 9 or 10, right? And for Rajas, it's more like your attitude is, I know Yajna Dana is all good for me, but I don't have the time or energy. And I work full time, I have kids to take care of, but I make donations to the temple or the Panditji and he'll take care of it. And that's good enough for me. So, what you're doing is, you don't want to go through the physical pain of waking up early and doing your Sandhya Vandana or doing your jap on all those things. For you, you think it's more of a convenience, and I'll do it when it suits my time, right? So your schedule should match it. If that's the attitude, then give yourself more points on the rajas. And for tamas, if you say, I have not learned what is yajna or dana and tapas, I heard some YouTube videos, I don't know how to do it, I don't have an inclination to follow any of this, quite frankly, and I don't see why it is necessary for me to follow this ritual. So what is the use? I don't know the purpose, I don't care, and jab hoga dekha jayega, means when it happens, it happens. If that's the attitude, then give yourself more points on tamas, right? If you're good, I'll move on. This ninth question, or the second question in this series, is Bhagavan jumps to understanding the purpose for which this universe was created. How do you see the Vishwa, or the creation, right? Kritsna. How do you see it? If you see the universe as a single, undivided, imperishable entity, which means you're seeing the entire universe as Paramatma Swarupa, meaning Bhagavan is everything, and I, you, a dog, a rat, a coronavirus, whatever it is, everything is one and the same. We are all the same continuum, spiritually and materially. We are one continuum. If you can see that and feel that, then give yourself more points. And if you can see it once in a while, but intellectually understand it, give yourself like 2 or 3. But if you understand it more and more, and you're an Advaita type person, then give yourself more points on that. Yeah. Intellectual understanding is different from spiritual understanding. I mean, you feel it, right? So when somebody shouts at you, you know that it's the Atma Swarupa itself. And you respond a different way, that's fine. But you understand it's the Atma, it's a play of interaction of the Atma with the Atma. Or for Rajas, you see the world as individual entities, meaning there are different people, the Atmas are different, it's all completely different people interacting with one another. And the Jivatma will go different ways. And there's no connection between this except for emotional connection or a physical connection. If that's your attitude, then go with Rajas and give yourself a point for that. And for Tamas, you see the universe as a combination of atoms and sheer coincidence. There's no real meaning of the creation, and there's no person sitting anywhere saying, lo and behold, and create this. So if that's your understanding, then go ahead and give more points in Tamas. And Tamas sees no logic or reasoning, and they believe that all this is only limited to what we can see and hear. Beyond death, there is no Atma. Things go back to the earth, and it's worm food. Okay, so that was the, yeah, sorry, that was, where is that? Yeah. And for Tapas, And then what type of spiritual karma or sadhanas do you do? So far, let me know if I'm going too fast or am I good? Hopefully, I'm okay with the speed. Okay. So, with respect to the spiritual sadhana, it is very important, like we said, Yagna and Dhana and Tapas. It's important for everybody to do spiritual sadhanas to improve our spiritual understanding of ourselves. Just as we brush our teeth, as we take a bath, or eat healthy food, there's no question. These are all rituals, right? We even have set times in a day where we eat food. There's a dinner time, there's a lunch time, not because we are hungry, but because it's more convenient. And for brushing the teeth, you ask a child, they'll be lazy. It'll be lazy, right? I don't want to brush my teeth. Why should I do it? My teeth won't fall off. But the thing is, these are all cleansing activities. So the question is, there are three types of karmas, and that is graded into sattva, rajas, and tamas. And which ones are you inclined to? And give yourself points for this. So do you perform karmas that are prescribed by the Vedas? That is your nitya karma or your niyata karma, and the karmas that are your kula dharma and all those things. Do you perform the karma prescribed by Vedas without any attachment, without complaining, and without desire for rewards? Now remember, these are the same types that are repeating in the previous questions also. But there is a continuum, and that's where sattva leads you. This is attitude towards karma. Or do you say, I'm definitely not a saint and I prefer karma doing sadhana only if it benefits me? Now it's like jitna paisa utna kam kind type of attitude, meaning I have to put an effort, but I won't put it until I understand there is a benefit for me, material benefit for me, right? And you feel proud of what you do, and you will not do until you'll not go through the stress until you see the benefit. So there's no pain, no gain, that kind. And the last type is tamas, that doesn't understand karma or doesn't understand why karma should be done or good karma should be done. They say, I don't care about karma. I do what I like and when I like. You only live once. And I do what my heart tells me. So there is no restraint or restriction. If that's the kind of attitude you have towards any karma, like when I say any karma, Vedic karma, spiritual karma, then give more points on the tamasic side. Hmm. Now, coming close, the next is the type of karta. We have defined the type of karma and the type of work being done. Now, what kind of a doer are you? Like your attitude, and the focus is not on the work, the focus is on the actor. So, are you usually free from ego and you wake up looking forward to the spiritual sadhana? You wake up at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning looking forward to Sandhya Vandana, not because it is one duty to check off, but because you really are excited to give your tarpanam or give your arghyam and all those things. Is that your attitude? And are you doing it with enthusiasm and determination? And you're fully mentally balanced, whether you succeed or fail. There is no failure, right? So, equanimity in your work, is that your attitude? Then give yourself between 0 and 10, and how many times you do it or how you see those kind of karmas, your attitude. The focus is not on the work, but your mindset. Or do you say, I work hard and adopt shortcuts in the practice? So instead of doing 15 minutes Sandhya Vandana, suddenly you've discovered a way, or jet speed Sandhya Vandana, or whatever it is, like a puja. Instead of 15 steps puja, you do a 3-step puja and you say, okay, that's good enough. You find shortcuts and you get impatient and you do 3 days of puja, and if there is no benefit, you move on to the next god. So is that your attitude? And you know that you're greedy or angry or passionate, but that's who you are, right? So that's what happens. You'll be doing your puja, but you get frustrated, you shout at god because you're not seeing the benefit. If that's your attitude, give more towards rajas. And that is the attitude of a tantrum throwing child, right? It does the work, but it also expects things in return and gets impatient. And tamas is basically, you say, I have no discipline and I am stubborn. I swear a lot. I'm lazy. I procrastinate doing sadhana. And yeah, I'll do it only if you make me do it, right? And you don't really care. And there are so many people who just come and sit in the temple because their parents made them to, or because food is readily available, and this is like a unnecessary necessity that you have to go through before you go and hit the dining table. So that's the kind of attitude. Then give more towards tamas. And none of this is bad or good. Let me say, this is not putting person down. This is identifying yourself and saying, this is where I stand. And if I want to understand Gita, how do I move forward? That's all it is, right? And sometimes you'll discover that Gita is not for you. At this point in life, then you'll say, okay, I'm happy. I don't have to sit painfully through Gita, and I can do something else usefully till I come back, right? So the kind of person you are is what we are trying to discover through all these assessments. And your insight, your intelligence and insight, or your dhriti and drishti. So, what of these is basically the dhriti, right? Which of these following descriptions describes you best? Is it you clearly understand what is good karma and bad karma with respect to spiritual progress, which is karma, akarma, and vikarma? Do you understand the difference? And doing some things, Vedas tell you to do some things and they prescribe you or stop you from doing some other things. Do you understand the difference? And do you understand why? If you do, then give yourself more point. Or do you clearly understand the duties that you should and should not perform, what you should and should not fear? There are certain things Veda says you'll be very afraid of, and certain things it's not afraid of God, but afraid of going on the wrong path, or looking down or doing karmas that are really, you know, not beneficial for you. So that kind of thing. And you know which karmas are binding and which karmas are liberating. If you understand that, then give yourself more points, otherwise, give yourself less. And rajas, do you say, I'm often confused with dharma and adharma? Like, I kind of know, but not really, because I have to go back to, okay, did Duryodhana do this or did Ravana do that? I have to think about that. But even after thinking, I really don't know what is good or bad karma. Because sometimes, for example, um, lying to Bhishma, right, with the Shikandi. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know, right? And there are people who bring up all this dharma sankatas or shooting Bali from behind a tree. Is that good or bad? I don't know, right? So are you the person who says, I get confused between dharma and adharma, and without somebody telling me, I cannot see the difference? And quite honestly, I need a guide, and that's a good thing to help me drive forward. And in the absence of a guide, they just do things and they go around in circles, right? So if I ask you a question on spirituality saying, Valis, killing, is that dharma or adharma? The means and end. If you can clearly see or have an insight, then you're sattva. If not, you're rajas. And we'll see what tamas does. Now, tamas or the rakshasi mind says, now what Veda says dharma is really adharma. And what you say is adharma is really dharma. They don't understand the difference, but they also confuse the two. They think adharma is dharma and dharma is adharma, right? And they say with the arrogance, or when I say they, do you say with arrogance that you know exactly what needs to be done and you don't need Gita or any book? Now, I am my own Lord, I'm a Swami, I don't care, right? If that's your attitude, give more points for Thomas. And now we are ending nearing the end of the questioning. So the question would be, what do you focus your mental energy on? Now we have talked about dhruti, we have talked about yagna, dana, tapas, the kind of karma, the kind of karta. But in your sadhana, how are you able to focus your mind? That is, I focus and cultivate my mind with dedication and through yoga and meditation. And you focus on self discipline through pranayama and spiritual upliftment, right? So you keep yourself as a vehicle of sadhana. Do you keep yourself fit to do all the sadhanas and karmas without attachment? So is that how you train your mind? Or do you train your mind to focus on the benefits of dharma? Like, I want a putra, I want this, I want, whatever it is, right? So the benefits of dharma, and you're more materially focused, which means you're still dharmic, but you want to progress materially as well, not just spiritually. And your mind is focused on wealth and attachment and desire for rewards and status in the society and those kind of things. Growth, when I say growth, how are you doing? And you say, I'm doing great. And by that great, do you mean I'm doing great spiritually or great materialistically or great emotionally, which means I'm so happy and those kind of things, content, right? So, what's your focus on? And the last one is Thomas, which says, I cannot focus my mind on anything. And I'm usually spending my time daydreaming or focusing on worry and fear and sadness and those kind of things that drags this or saps your energy down. So it's not you want to do it, but sometimes your mind automatically impulse itself to worry about or create scenarios that's never happened or is never going to happen. You say, what if? There's so many people now, especially like in this day and age, you are worried about the third wave of the virus, and they spend so much of time looking at videos and news articles that focus on this, and it drives up their fear even more. So, is your focus and your mind dragging yourself down, or moving yourself up spiritually, or moving it up materially? So, that's the question. And mark yourself from 0 to 10 on all three of this. Okay. Having done that, next one is the type of activities that you like to indulge in, right? So, on a general day, or when you're feeling great or normal, we're all human beings, and we have multiple kinds of activities we indulge in at work, at home, with friends, and when we are alone, right? So the type of activities, when you say, I do activities that feels boring or painful or difficult in the beginning, right? In the beginning, it is hard. For example, workout, okay, exercising. So those kind of activities that are initially painful but yield in a great result afterwards, or dieting. You're hungry, you have intermittent fasting. It's painful. You don't want to do it, but you do those kind of things that ultimately leads you to good health, or spiritual sadhanas that you do, which initially seems boring to other people, but ultimately the results are given. So, like, okay, and it leads me towards either knowledge or better health or better emotional status, and that's your kind of work you indulge in. Then put yourself as sattvic. For rajasic, you like to focus on activities that are initially attractive and thrilling and exciting, electrifying, the dodge coins and all those things, the quick monies. And it indulges your senses, brushes up your adrenaline, and it is bad for you eventually. You don't care. Like smoking is one of them, or drinking, okay, chalo. Alcohol, I've heard about it, but I know I'm in good control, I'm moderating. So you kind of fool yourself. It's that kind of activities you like to indulge in, right? So life is short, you want to have fun. You don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. You live in the moment. I mean, the wrong way, but you live in the moment. And the third kind is activities that are intoxicating or making you stay up late in the night, harming your physical self by, staying late nights and listening to loud music and sleeping in the day and reckless driving or fighting with others, physical or verbal, just for the sake of fighting. You feel like picking up arguments. So is that the kind of activities you indulge in? Like it's like raw primal behavior. And then, sometimes it happens. Like people like to pick up a fight because it's just because, right? If that's the case, then do tamas. And those are the questions that were all the sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic filters. And now Bhagavan will bring it to a conclusion and take you upwards. And with this assessment, what we have done is we have understood where we stand, right? And then we'll start moving ourselves up from tamasic and reducing the number of tamasic points and reducing the number of rajasic points and moving it to sattvic points, right? So now the quiz is over. Now we'll come to the other points. Is all the gunas. Now, why do we have gunas? When I talk to you about guna and the black and the white and the red, it sounds very esoteric, and it sounds as if it's Bhagavad Gita and we cannot do it. But in simple psychological terms, all these attitudes are mental filters and learning filters. So it's cognitive biases and learning filters. And what it does is the filters are how we actually see the world and how we act with the world. Okay. So let us say somebody is giving a lecture on finance, right? A sattvic person will understand it, or not even sattvic. Let us 10 people in the lecture. Warren Buffett is giving a lecture. Now, after the lecture, not all 10 people will become Warren Buffetts, because you understand only through your lens, or through your filters. You can have the world's greatest teacher telling you things, but you can only pick up as much as your cup allows you to. Ekalavya, he did not even have a physical teacher. His learning capacity was so great that by building a statue of Dronacharya, he learned and excelled the art of archery even better than Arjuna. That was him. And there are other Sishyas, Paramarthananda Guru Sishyas, Paramartha Guru Sishyas. These are like famous fable and stories, where there's a guru, but all his Sishyas are not that great, right? So it's not the problem with the teacher. It's the problem with the mind that is picking it up. And therefore, before beginning Bhagavad Gita, once we start assessing our cognitive filters, it will be easier. When Bhagavan says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, right? To a sattvic person, it's a different thing. For a tamasic person, he'll say, why? I don't want to, and he'll start swearing at Krishna. And think of one great example within the same family is Ramana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishan. One had a sattvic mindset, which is Vibhishana had the sattvic mindset, even though they were born in the same family, had the same father. Kumbhakarna was tamasic, whereas Ravana was rajasic, right? So it is not that you have to have different communities or cultures that have sattvic, rajasic, tamasic mindsets. Even within the same family, even within the individual, sometimes you have one filter on, other times you have a different filter on. For an example, same words coming from your closest friend will sound different from when it comes from your bitterest enemy. Same words, right? And your filters or your guards will go up. And all this is because your mind is acting up and raising these gates as and when. So, for us to be stable and equanimous is very important. Okay. Now, the transformation, how do we transform from one to the other? There are great examples. For transforming from Rajas to Sattva, you have Vishwamitra as a fantastic example. Many of you already know the story of Vishwamitra, so I don't have to elaborate. But he was born a king, and he got into a fight with Vasishta based because of his ego. He wanted the cow Kamadhenu or Surabhi, and Vasishta wouldn't give him. And Vishwamitra started attacking Vasishta till he found out that the Brahmarshi's powers are stronger than a Kshatriya's power. So he swore, he said, I will become a Brahmarshi. And his entire quest, his tapasya, it was a total transformation. He failed many times, but eventually he became so great a rishi from Brahmarshi. And when he talks to Harishchandra, he says, I'm a Brahmana. He never says I'm a Kshatriya. I'm a Brahmana. And he became such a great rishi that every Brahmana today, or everybody today, recites the Gayatri mantra given by Vishwamitra, right? So that is the greatness of Vishwamitra, a complete transformation from Rajas to Sattva. Another great transformation, also from the Ramayana, is from Tamas to Sattva, which is Ratnakara. Ratnakara was a highway robber, right? And a single contact with a sant, or with a teacher, great teacher, Narada, led him to a realization, and he completely transformed himself. This was not a half hearted 3 hours a day dedication, it was a complete life changing transformation where he gave up, or decided to give up, his tamasic attitude and understanding, and dedicated himself And the beauty of this, and I cannot understate it, there is only one word, one syllable that helped him through and through. The most powerful syllable, Ram, right? Ram Nam. And that was enough for him to transform into Valmiki. And Valmiki's Ramayana, for thousands of or millennia together, has been the heart and soul of the Bharatiya culture, right? And that if Valmiki, a highway robber, can transform himself from a complete tamasic to a Valmiki, right? What stops us from doing so? So it's easy, but only thing is we have to consciously say, I'm going to start somewhere. And it's very hard for us to do that. So what did Bhagavan do? He gave us a way out. So another transformation before we go to that is from sattva to rajas and tamas. Now this is a transformation of people who were sattvic, who devolved and became rajasic and tamasic. If you, most of you, if I'm assuming everybody knows this, but this is the gatekeepers of Mahavishnu himself, Jaya and Vijaya. So once they blocked the four great Nivritti Margakas, which is Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara, from entering Vaikuntha. And it was basically their ego or sense of duty or sense of superiority. They got cursed. And because of this mistake, they were born three times on earth. One as Hiranyakishipu and Hiranyaksha, second as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, and third as Seshupala and Dantavakra. Now, the each Janma, Bhagavan had to take an avatara to quell them and bring them back or relieve them of their curse. The first two births were so, their pap, so to speak. It's not really pap in this age, but of those age, it was so strong that Bhagavan had to take two different avatars, Varaha, Narasimha. In the second one, it was just in one avatara, but the entire avatar karya was destruction of Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And in the third one, they became extras. Krishna avatara was there, but this was more like a one-day duty, and you're back. But never think that because somebody has transformed into sattva, they can never fall back. There's always a danger till you fully secure yourself and move forward. So, what did Bhagavan say? Bhagavan has given us way out. And even though this comes at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, to me, this is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. In order to begin, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarvapapebhyo Mokshayishyami Mashucha. So Bhagavan says, give up all sense of duties, dharma and adharma and everything, and just become or fall at my feet, or surrender unto me. And the moment you surrender unto Bhagavan, he relieves you of all sense of sin or papa. When I say papa, it's not like sin going to hell, but all kinds of impediments that stops you from progressing spiritually. So he removes all the impediments, and moksha ishyami releases you from the circle of samsara. With this understanding, if we can take an oath saying, I will begin my Gita studies by surrendering unto Bhagavan and let him take care of my spiritual progress. I am a nobody. Let him take care of my spiritual progress. If that is the attitude, then victory is 100%. The moment ego comes in and says, I'm going to take care of myself, the Bhagavan says, okay, you take care of yourself. Right? So always with this one shloka, we will start the Bhagavad Gita and we will go into Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga from next series onwards. So with this self-assessment done, and I'm going to close this and open up for questions. And before we do, I want to say the Purnamada Purnamadam, then question. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
Thank you so much, everyone, and looking forward to see you all next week. And Om Shanti ईश्वर सबको पूरे वर्ल्ड में सबको
जी
शक्ति प्रदान करे इस दौर से गुजरने के लिए। थैंक यू सो मच। थैंक यू एवरीवन। शुभ